Hi there. Hi, everyone. Everyone joining us today or watching on demand. It's our pleasure to welcome you all to our session, What's in a Demo? So some real world use cases and live capabilities. Walking customers through a demo, it can make or break a deal ultimately. And if a potential customer would like to move forward with a solution. So what actually goes into a demo that makes it resonate with customers, enables you to showcase actual value and can accelerate decision making. Now, today's event and webinar is part of our system integrator educational series, Tech Talk. They're all designed to raise awareness, deepen knowledge of new products or enhancements and technology trends or new capabilities and features that we have as part of the program, all with the goal of helping our system integrators improve productivity, solve customer challenges, or uncover new revenue opportunities. So as a system integrator, we recognize that your expertise is invaluable to your customers. And today, we'll aim to provide you with some information and showcase the demo capabilities that are available to you so you can deliver greater value to your install base. Today's talk, we're going to showcase the available Proficy demos, well, some of them, and how you can sharpen your demo strategy and better connect capabilities to customer outcomes. Oh, sorry, the slide won't move. There we go. So my name's Ben Latham. I'm the director of the Solution Provider Program for partnerships in the EMEA region, based in the UK, and I'll be the host for today. But I'm also joined by two very important people here, Lulu Wright and Cassio Silva, who are two of our business consultants in Velotic's Proficy team. We'll get to them in a moment. During the session, I don't anticipate that we are going to talk about future roadmap items today with the fact that we're showcasing demos, but just in case something is shared, then just be sure to check with us if you have any questions around them before we go discussing that externally. A quick housekeeping slide from my side. You should see a row of buttons, a bit like we see on the screen here. Now, the orange chat bubble, really important. This is where you can submit questions throughout the session. We'll be sure to answer them at the end, or we can follow up via email if we don't get a chance to. The purple button, the email icon, is where you can contact myself or my colleagues for more information on the Solution Provider Program. The blue paperclip icon is where you can access additional resources, such as ways to access training, find product information, or hear updates from us as well. There's the question mark icon is where you can get technical assistance. But as I always say, if there's an issue, then typically you can just try refreshing your browser, which fixes most things. We've then got the feedback survey available through the pink clipboard icon. We'd really love to hear your feedback on the sessions, on anything that you would like to know more about, and anything you're experiencing with your customers. Please be sure to share that via the feedback. Just a reminder as well that the session is recorded. And the slides and the recording will be sent via email, so be on the lookout for that and be sure to reference back to the materials as you need them. Just finally, for me, before we dive in, I think it's always important just to keep reminding each other of the recent news. This is still less than 3 months ago. We are now Velotic, an independent software company bringing together Proficy with Kepware and ThingWorx. It's really an exciting time. We're a startup, but with 40 years of experience. Now, Velotic, as you can see here, is not just a collection of brands, though. It's a combination of capabilities that can help customers connect across complex systems, improve operations, and then extend value into applications to utilize AI, artificial intelligence, and authentic intelligence. And it's important to share that our value is still focused on being open and interoperable with all brands. You'll continue to see business as usual from a Proficy perspective. Over the coming months, we still continue with the rebranding exercise and updating our systems, etc. And you'll see this in our materials, and you'll eventually get rebranded materials yourself and logos, etc. And over time, for those that need it, we'll find ways to give you access to ThingWorx and Kepware as part of the overall portfolio. Just keep an eye out for more announcements on that. And if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. So with that, I will now hand over to Lulu, I think, first, correct? Thanks, Lulu.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Excited to be here talking about our standard demo content and how we go about delivering demos. If there are any questions, I know we will have some time towards the end, but feel free to just also, ask them as we go. We have the next 15 minutes or so it's going to be focused on the manufacturing demo system, which is what we call our public-facing main system that we use to deliver demos as the business consultants team. What we call standard content, which is a set of applications that we continue to enhance as new functionality becomes available, so that we can better address the value proposition and the actual solving of challenges and pain points for our clients. I'm going to be focusing on a portion of our smart factory, in this case, MES and scheduler. And after this, Cassie is going to do the same with automation. First and foremost, the main thing you need to know is how to log in. So you just need to navigate to mes.gedemo.io, and you're going to see the web page that I see here, and I'm going to go live in a minute or so we can go over that as well, and what it looks like and what the content available is. And second most important thing is any questions, suggestions, issues, please direct them to us. We're happy to help at gevmfgdemosupport@gevernova.com. And I know this, both the slides and the recording will be made available, so you will have this, and we can add this to the chat as well. If you do not have or do not know your username and password that you will need in order to be able to access the content, please reach out to us as well. All right, and I would say let's go live. So like I mentioned, you just go to mes.gedemo.io, which is what I had there. I was just playing around with some of the content already. And the idea here is that you are going to be able to see the latest and greatest. This is one of the focuses that we have for this system right now. For example, for plan applications, which is one of the main focuses or aspects of the call, we are on Plan Apps 2025 SIM 3. We're always in touch with product, making sure that we are aware if things are coming up or even helping test them so that they are available to you as well. Same thing with scheduler. Right now we're on version 8.0, which has been recently released. And this is the version that contains UA authentication. So just if you are looking at something today and maybe have questions, or you know that there's something coming out, just be aware that we will do our best to have this updated in the system as soon as possible. So the main thing, let me check here. Perfect. The main thing that you see here is three different containers, I would say, for the types of content. One of them is monitoring, the other one is manufacturing, and the third one is managing. And the idea here was to separate at a high level different things that we were going to focus on to make it easier to access. For monitoring, we're thinking of applications that help monitor different, in this case, it could be something like utilities, or it could be focused on sustainability, HMI like dashboards, or for example, with our batching one, the focus is on our iBatch product and the execution of batches. But the main and ultimate goal of the demo system itself is to be able to focus on value proposition. So how can we use these tools, this software portfolio, in order to provide value to our clients by being able to address their main challenges or pain points that they're facing as they manufacture their products. As an example of, for example, the samples one, let me stop this. I think I may have too many things open. Go back here. So there's a certain, and this is something that it may happen, number of tabs that you can have available with the products. So if you see something that's loading and you realize that you have a few open, just close one of them and you'll be able to reload. So
Lulu.
Yes.
Lulu, should we be seeing your screen now? We're just checking your.
Oh, I apologize for that. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Hopefully
Apologies for that. So what I was saying is, and just let me go back to this part at least. This is the slide that I was mentioning that you're going to be getting, but just making sure that you know the URL to log in, as well as the email address to contact us. And then going into the actual system, this is what it looks like. You have the three main buckets of content, like I mentioned before, then monitoring, manufacturing, and managing. And one that I would like to, even though we're not going to highlight this for this particular demo, just so that you have in the back of your minds, would be samples. Because the idea here is that, and when you click on it, you're going to see the same look and feel for all of them. You have a card that opens at the bottom. You're going to see a brief description of what the application itself contains or is or tries to address. And then you're going to have a start demo and a close. So if you want to get out of here, just close. If you want to start demo, you have two options. This option will open the application in the same tab that you're in, and this one will open it in a new one. So let me show you, for example, what this one looks like. The sample one was made by our Operations Hub team in order to showcase the different widgets that are available out of the box. And there's two aspects to this. One, I would say, is check our documentation. There's some good information there regarding how to configure these widgets. There are some videos oftentimes, and highlighting all of the things that you get to do with this part of the product. But sometimes we get questions regarding, can we do this specific thing, or can it behave, let's say just to create behave this way, or can this widget be configured to show this number of decimals, or how about the format of the values we get back? So this would be a place you can come and check out to see different ways to view and configure the different widgets. If you needed to reverse engineer, you can go into, you have the access to update things. What we ask is that if you're going to do so, you may want to duplicate a page that you're looking to update into your own application, and then take it from there, so that we can have the content available to anyone else that may require or need to use it. And just as an example, in here you have the line chart. And this is just showing you different colors and different ways that this can be shown in one of your dashboards. And you can see in here, there's a lot of other information. For example, even at the bottom, you can have something like a work order for discrete, for example, in here. So if you wanted to have a quick way of viewing work order data, you can see in this case, there's no data being populated, but you select one of these work orders and you can see different things populated depending on the configuration and the data that you have for them. For example, this one had OEE data attached to it and the other ones didn't. And this, again, are just examples that you can come and take a look at and see how different widgets are connected, what they're connected to, what kind of data they're bringing in, and depending on the different levels of knowledge or interaction or experience that you've had with the system, this can help leverage some of this so that you don't have to be continuously reinventing the wheel. So that would be for the samples. Now, if we go into the main, one of the main topics, which would be Smart Factory, in this case, MES, you have a few flavors. What we call MES here is just plan applications out of the box, all of the dashboards. So all of the out of the box functionality you have available in your navigation bar in this one. And what that looks like is like this. You come in here, if you're familiar with Operations Hub, you can see the title of our application. You can see our alarms symbol. I'm logged in as Lulu. You have the option to log out and of course a help. And then you have to the left your navigation bar. And here's where you see each dashboard is focusing on a specific functionality of this product. Now, in here, depending on what we're going to do, we can show just different dashboards. You organize them in a particular order. Oftentimes, we will grab one of either these dashboards or another one of the applications that we've had, like we've done even as recently as this past few days, and then customize that for a demo. It could be different, if it's discrete, different operations or different materials, but we go back to the point of as much as you can, leveraging this will help you save time and effort when you are trying to deliver these demos. Excuse me, things to know before I go into our actual process demo is we do have three main, I would call them plan application demos. This MES, and then there is the discrete and the process, and we have a newer one that's injection molding. And the main idea with the discrete and the process is that they're showing or highlighting different aspects of Proficy plan applications that help address specific processes you can do or address different things or issues or challenges or pain points that come up with continuous, and that's what we call the process one, manufacturing processes, or discrete ones. You can do a hybrid. So we just split them up for ease of showing it. And I guess that would be one of the points when we think about how we try to create this demo content ourselves. We think about use cases that are brought up to us. Usually they may have different details or specifics or certain flavors to them, but there are oftentimes things that we hear, obviously, time and time again. So we were trying to figure out how do we best divide this so it doesn't, to be able to focus the attention of our clients into specific parts versus something that may be too much if you are first becoming engaged with this product. Now, before we go into those, like I mentioned, a couple of things. One is for the discrete one, just because we're going over the creation of a work order and the execution of it through different operations, which in our case is radio based product, we do that manually. So there's no simulation for that one as of yet. For the process demo, we have two different ways. You have the manual aspect of it, so you can go into a demo and just create your process order and be able to go through the execution and explain as you go. And then there's the other part where we wanted to have data that is significant or relevant when you're showing different dashboards, for example, or when you need to show downtime or waste. So for those, we have batches that are created every half an hour. And in those batches, you're going to be able to see different things coming in with them as far as data. So you're going to have waste generated, you're going to have downtime generated, and you're going to be able to see different things as we go through it. To showcase that a little bit, we are going to go into our OEE dashboard. So what you see here is the process orders available in the system. And we'll get back to that in a little bit. But as far as the simulation and data itself, you're going to be able to see a few things over here. Main thing, KPI, OEE, the units or the lines, I would say part of the plant model that have this automation are our packaging lines, which are lines 1 and 2, and each one has 3 machines. And as you can see, this allows us to have your OEE and the OEE's main components, quality, performance, availability. And as you drill into these components, you can also see the breakdown based on the configuration that you have. For example, some downtime data in here, classification, as well as category. And then as you go, because this is a line, as you go deeper, you can see a little bit more granularity for each one of the units, which in our case are the filler, the labeler, and the case packer. And you're going to see the same apply to the others. For example, with quality, you're going to see the scrap breakdown, you're going to see the loss by product, and then some additional details per or filtered by unit instead of just the overall line aggregation. And the other thing that I wanted to show here was the OEE reports. You can see here as well, every 5 minutes we have alarms coming in. So if you need to showcase that in a demo, you can just open one of those up or go straight to the alarms dashboard in your navigation bar and be able to access that information. Regarding these reports, another thing is a slightly different way to view the data and some slightly different data. You can see it by product, by order, by production status. And one of the things that you can access, let's say if I wanted to go by order and I still want a summary, or maybe let's do per line. Let's see, let's do this, and let's do crew. Always, whenever you update these filters, make sure that you're refreshing. And in here, you're going to be able to see the data, for example, per crew. So Casio has a 35.32 OEE. It seems today I'm having serious challenges. But here is a different way to slice the data, right? In this case, per crew. If I wanted to do per shift, maybe let's do by product. You're going to see, again, now whether it's day or night shift, the data divided in or sliced in a different manner. Any questions this far? All right, let's go into.
No, it doesn't appear to be any questions. Sorry, Lulu. Just people checking they could see your screen. That was all.
Oh, good. No,
Well,
I'm asking because I
see
can't see your. If you post something, I can't see it, so just feel free to let me know if anything comes into the chat.
Will do.
In this case, if we are going to go into, for example, process, or actually, let me show this discrete. There's things, as I mentioned, this is a living and breathing system. We continue to make updates and additions and modifications. So if you ever have any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out. But the way that this looks is as follows. You can go into this and you're going to see something like this overview button in addition to the start and close. And what that means is that we've added information in here as to basically what something similar to what we are doing today, myself and Cassia. I was just going over what is available and how you can leverage. In this case, you have a video explaining how we would go through the flow of a discrete demo. So you can see the different portions of the plant model involved, and the routes and the operations and maybe tooling and all of those things. And then you can decide what, if any of this, you would like to show. And in addition to this, the idea is that you know how we do it, and you also have access to how we would present it. So we are adding PowerPoints as well that are related to the flow that we present, but also, like I mentioned, right, focusing on the value aspect in addition to the technical overview. And you will see architectures and different aspects that we often highlight, again, just based on a lot of interactions that we have with clients day in and day out. And oftentimes we also highlight things that are have been recently introduced into the product, or that are going to be coming, that we also know that there's a lot of excitement for. And this is all available just by logging through the demo or into the demo. And you can click home and get back here, or you can click back like you would normally do. I know you have that one, for example, for discrete, for scheduling, and we're working on getting them for as many, if not all of them, as many as we can. Now for process, what we have in here is, let me close this out. One of the demos that was one of the first ones to be put together regarding process use cases was and oftentimes how we present this is the life, a day in the life of an operator or a work order, depending on the perspective that we're looking to go from. When you come in here, you can see already you don't have the regular navigation bar. You come straight into the process order dashboard. And this one, you can have it as is, or you can filter it. Particularly for this demo, we're going with Mixer 2. I have an order that I recently created, and you can already see a lot of the details in here that you will need to know as far as what has been created through this process. You have the product as green paint. This is based on a paint making manufacturing process. You have the product code, the line, which is the manual mixer, and you start seeing the plant start and end times. Now in here, as you click, you can see that you have, again, a slightly modified version of what you would get out of the box. The idea is, as much as we can, we like to present out of the box content, and then if anything, discuss with clients any additional needs or requirements or specifics that they would like that wouldn't necessarily be covered by this content. And here you can see statistics, you can see BOM details, you can see the BOM, like I mentioned, it is for paint making, so you can see green pigment, binder, additive, and solvent. And then you can also see that there's a batch created and associated to this process order. One thing that we oftentimes do is come in here, set the stage that we're going to be showing this continuous process that's based off of a paint making process. And as we go through the execution of a day in the life of the process order, we start with the process order list like I did, start digging deeper. And once we get to the BOM, we show consumption. So you have something like green binder, green pigment, binder, additive, and solvent available. You double click on it. When you do, always make sure you have your batch selected, or you're not going to be able to have this pop-up come up. And then we have certain batches staged in the system that you can consume from. So you have, in this case, your available quantity, your material, quantity to consume. So I just click consume, and you see this here. You can see who did it, how much, of what, at what time. And the great thing about this too is from now on, anywhere you have a BOM related tab, you're going to be able to see this consumption reflected in there. Now, you can have, in addition to the custom, to the out of the box, like I mentioned, custom tabs. For example, this batch tracking is one of them. If you want to think of a simulation of starting a machine, you can have, in this case, we have a graph, we can have some details that we can get pulled from the current order, but it could be other things oftentimes that we do. It could be reflecting or showing something like batch label printing and the like. And then these are additional out-of-the-box dashboards that we usually go over. So after going through the consumption, it could be some sort of quality testing. So we have a quality activity that is generated for this mixer. And then you also have some others. You have a startup checklist if you wanted to show going through a set of steps, making sure that you're ready to get started. You can see others such as a moisture, protein moisture test, where you can see SPC if that's something that you need to show. And the idea always being that you are able to just showcase different things such as for example, specifications, or let me check this one. For example, in this case, you can have different values. You can have values coming in automatically or manual. You can have electronic signature. You can have different data types for dropdowns that you're generating, and all of those things you're able to show using this demo. Another thing that we oftentimes go into is genealogy, and just basically track and trace, and if you have a recall or if you have any sort of issues with your product, and how do you know where your product was at any given instance, or which lots were affected or batches, so that you can address any sort of decision that you need to make based on those. And that's when we would use the genealogy dashboard. Now, the good thing about this dashboard is that, and let me get to this one in here. So the thing here is that you can see the graph view, but in addition to the graph view, there's a lot of data that as you log into the system, you can also see. So if you want to look for your batch, which in our case, it was batch 44, make sure you add it here, because if you add it here, it only looks in the list down below. So that's what I did. And you can see different details for the batch, for the order. Like I mentioned, you have a bump tab. So you're going to see the consumption that we just made register in the system. And the other thing that usually we go over is the graph version. So you can see how the consumption goes forward and also how it goes backwards. So any of this raw material inputs as well. Now, at a very high level, just to summarize, the idea is always we hear what our given client is discussing about where they are in their journey. Is it the same across plants or similar enough, or is it different across the globe? Are these pain points again similar? Are there some different because maybe some plants are further along the journey than others, or because of different characteristics such as that one? And based on that, we try to come up with a story, a flow, and use cases that can help put all of this that we have available to us together in order to help address them. And like I've shown right now, like I mentioned, this process demo, you will see the same thing for discrete, you will see the same thing for injection molding, and the same thing for scheduling. I will go into scheduling a little bit. Once you log in, you're going to see for now these different 5 different sites, and we're going to be updating this. Most likely leave one that you can use for most of your needs. But as of right now, you see the discrete, the paint, which correspond to the main 2 that you saw in our demo content, injection molding as well, and then you have food mix and demolet. Once you click into the web viewer, you're going to be to jump into the application. Now in here, at a high level, you're going to see, if you're familiar with the thick client, very, very similar look and feel. To the left, you see in here the different projects that we have available in here. This one is the discrete, so you can see discrete related data. You can also go into the paint one, and you can see the idea is that what you see is cohesive. So this matches up to the plant model that we have in plant applications. So you can have the resources modeled. You can see the Gantt chart to the right, different filters and ways of viewing the data and data that you can view. So in this case, for example, I'm viewing 1 week. You can view different periods of time. You can go forward and backward very easily by just clicking these arrows. There's a lot that you can do, and as soon as you start going into something like your process order, you can select orders to be displayed in your Gantt chart. You can start going into by using the different orders available in your system, getting further drilling down into their details and being able to edit them. You can see the order number, the customer. You can see a lot of things that you can modify and configure, such as the color. You can see the product that you're making. Of course, delivery dates are important with this product. You can see the route, the operations, with lots of data in here, and the resources as well. And the idea with scheduling is it can be shown as a standalone, depending on the type of call. Oftentimes the first call involves a higher level description of better understanding of the pain points and description of what does it look like, what are the symptoms that issues with your scheduling, with your planning, can look like in your day-to-day activities, and then how the software can help, or this implementation can help address them, and also just how quickly the implementation itself can be, which it can take as little as a few weeks to get up and running. Now, another point that I want to make regarding this is, like I mentioned, so that would be the first call. A second call could potentially be more technical and go over whether it is all in more depth, all of these different aspects that I was showing you, in addition to things such as specific use cases. It could be issues with material shortages, how you would address that. It could be challenges with delivery dates. Maybe your original plan of when you were going to be getting your raw material inventory had to be updated, and now you're having challenges. The great thing with Scheduler is you can do simulation or what if, so you can play around and see how different updates that you are making will impact your final decision on your updated plan. So all of these things are items that you would be able to showcase using the public demo. One more thing that's available that, until at least for now, just because we have a thick client availability to a thick client SAP instance, so we can show a brief demonstration of integration between SAP scheduler and plan applications. It is something that's in the roadmap to have the scheduler integration as well, so it will be productized. But if that's something that a client would like to see, we have videos available and a demo implementation as well. So just feel free to reach out. We're happy to help. And the last thing that I want to go over briefly before handing this off to Casio is the managing. Administration, Casio is going to go into, which is basically Configuration Hub. But when you click into dashboarding, you're going to see the classic Operations Hub. As you may be aware, there's still some functionality that is only available in the classic, particularly if you're thinking of things such as data sources or queries, that style of configuration. So by clicking in dashboarding, you're going to be taken or navigate to that section so that you can do that configuration and then be able to continue working. I will ask again any questions before we move on to Casio and automation.
No, that's perfect. I think we've got some in the chat for after Casio's finished.
Perfect.
All right, thanks, Lulu. Let's jump now into the next slide. Let me change this here just a minute. And there it is. So with some focus on automation, let's talk about centralized management, and specifically managing this kind of distributed SCADA from one place. The idea here is simple but powerful. You know, as your operation spreads across more sites, and in this case, I will be showing more pump stations, for example, managing this shouldn't get harder. You know, it comes down to three kind of promises as we see in this slide. You know, the first is a single pane of glass. So from central operations, we can have configuration hub managing every site, every station in the environment. You know, so you're not logging into each node separately. You know, you're not walking the plant. You see and control the entire distributed system from one place. Second here is about building once, scaling everywhere, right? We are going to use the iFix asset model, where you define a template once, like the tags, alarms, and for something like a equipment type, like a pump that we'll be showing. and you roll it out across every station in minutes. You know? So you build the logic once and replicate it everywhere consistently. And the third is edit once, deploy everywhere. So when something needs to change, you make that change centrally and push it out. You know, so to backup nodes, to client nodes, remote nodes in a single step. So no more manual copying, no version drift between sites. You know, put those three in here that we're these three topics here that we're talking about. When we put this together, the message is this: you know, as your operation grows, your management effort doesn't have to grow with it. So let me now show you the kind of architecture that makes it possible. Let me start sharing my screen in here. Just a minute. Here we go. Entire screen. All right. Can you see this architecture? Yeah, no, I think you can. Okay, perfect. So as I said, the focus is of this demonstration is just to show the power and the importance of centralized management. We are proposing a new way of thinking about SCADA, you know, a model where activities that use it to demand someone physically present at the facility can now be carried out remotely from a single location. And on top of that, through a web interface with no software components to install on the client side, we have Configuration Hub. So the environment I'm about to walk you through follows the concept of a distributed SCADA architecture, but it's let's say it's layered with some more advanced capabilities, built-in integrated security mechanism, you know, visualization layer, as Lulu was mentioning, designed for a high degree of integration across systems. You know. So in here, what you can see, we have at the center, the central operations. This is where everything converges: Configuration Hub, Operations Hub, process authentication, the central historian, an MQTT broker, the licensing server, uh, reporting and analytics services. You know, this is our single pane of glass. And around it, we have several remote sites, you know, each representing a different real world scenario. So, for example, for the first site, we have here the pump station 3 on this diagram. It's a full SCADA site. You know, it runs on with a redundant pair of SCADA servers plus a thick SCADA client. You know, and it also includes web space, local historian with this Essentials edition. There is a server-to-server collector here that is supposed to continuously forward data up to the central historian. So even through collection happens locally, the data layer stays unified across the whole environment. You know, the next site 2 here with the pump station 2. We simulate a remote SCADA node, but running on Windows IoT as the operating system. So, and also with IoT edition of iFix. So the idea here is to represent a small remote installation, something that you could sustain on minimal compute and connectivity resources, while still keeping it under this kind of a centralized management, you know. And its primary source, the primary data source here is a generic OPC wave server. And then we have the site 3 here, the pump station 1, right? It's not a SCADA node, but we are simulating an MQTT data source here, publishing data either into the central system or maybe straight up to the cloud if needed, right? Okay, so let's look at some of these capabilities in action. Let me jump into our demo environment, and I'm gonna open Configuration Hub from a web browser, as you can see. Okay, let's log into this. So at first, we are talking about the feature. Actually, before jumping to this, let's see. For example, we are talking about configuration hub, as I mentioned, it's web-based integrated environment from which you can perform configuration tasks for all of our Proficy products, including Historian, SCADA like iFix, Simplicity, and MES as well, Historian again, and MQTT client, for example, and you can do that from anywhere on the network without the need of installing local components. And we are talking about that web environment, right? And it's also possible to have multiple developers working on the same project, for example, at the same time. This is one of the advantages of being web-based for sure. Right? And going beyond configuration tasks, it also delivers, going here, for example, for operations hub, it also delivers a unified visualization layer, right? And in here, for example, you can create your own dashboards, reports, web-based applications. For example, on this one, let me go through this one, automotive, in here, in which we can access, for example, a kind of application that is going to be showing multiple data coming from multiple data sources. For example, by selecting this remote side, I would be capable of loading data from the other components here, right? Including Historian data from relational database, simulating, for example, PCUA connections, right? But going back to Configuration Hub, we also have this, as I mentioned, this security configuration module, process authentication, in which you can configure an identity provider integrated, for example, an LDAP server or an SAML identity provider, so that you can now provide a kind of a single sign-on experience to your users based on the roles. It's role-based, totally role-based, and you can restrict access to the specific functionalities that each user needs to have access to, right? Okay, but let's move to this feature aimed at increasing standardization and more productivity in both configuration and maintenance. So for example, let's go to the side one here and to our primary SCADA server, in which we have, let me close this stuff here. We have some project running right now, and we have our model, right? So this is asset model. Here we create equipment types, for example, for this pump, in which we have variables, and those variables map to tags in the SCADA database once we instantiate objects from this equipment type, right? And within the type, for example, let's go edit this. You can configure the properties of these variables, same fields that you find at the SCADA database, for example, right? And here you can see, for example, some of these fields. Just a minute. Just confirm you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so in here, as I said, we have those variables here that you can configure the properties of those variables. For example, you can use substitutions, as we can see here. This substitutions is gonna make the field parameterization more dynamic, so that the values here, for example, you have the site is gonna be replaced by a specific value, right? So when I create an object from this pump, for example, let me go back here to our object types, and I'm gonna add a new object instance. Let's call this, for example, pump 101. For example, I'm gonna create this, and now we have a new pump here, 101, a new object with all those variables. But what is interesting is that you can see that the instance is created here, right here, but if we go to the database and also available here, you're gonna see that those variables have been those tags have been created here automatically while instantiating that object. They have been generated automatically. And it's worth highlighting the real power of this. If I change also, for example, in here, if you go to current, you can see that now the site is site 1. But if I come here and change this, for example, the pump station index to, I don't know, 5, for example, and refresh this, go back to that one, you're going to see that now the pump station is updated to 5. So the idea is that if I change a parameter here on the equipment type, that change cascades to every object instantiated from this equipment type. One added at the parent level, propagated to all instances. Okay. All right, and finally, I still working from our redundant systems. Let me show you how we can disseminate updates across the SCADA project to the various nodes that make up the system, for example. So let me go here. I want to go to the project actually, and I want to go with the deploy. So let's suppose that we've made some changes to a few screens on the primary server, and we want to push those updates out to the, for example, to the backup server. Let me go here. This. Let's say that I wanna publish these changes, deploy these changes to the backup project, to the backup node, or to the client node as well. So I'm in full control of both the destinations here and the content of that update. So for example, I can select this too. I can come here. And select, for example, which pictures I would like to replicate, to update from here, for example, or if I have more components or settings to be updated, I can just check the ones in here, and just click on deploy. So in other words, it's no longer necessary to connect to the system over, for example, RDP or copy files directly, or to maintain shared directory on the network, which can drive up network traffic, for example, and potentially slow down access to the application. I now do all of this centrally, accessing it from anywhere. So basically, our portfolio is evolving, more and more with a clear focus on 3 things: centralization, unification, and modernization. So centralization, because we manage your entire distributed environment from a single point of control, no matter how many sites or nodes you have. Unification, because whether your data comes from iFix, Simplicity, OPC Way, MQTT, it all converts into one consistent data layer and one operational picture. And modernization, because we are delivering this through web-based interface. We have AI-enabled components. We install three interfaces, with integrated security and asset modeling built from the ground up, So as your operation grows again and it becomes more distributed, the complexity of managing it doesn't have to grow with it, And with that, I think now we move to Q&A session. Over to you, Nita. And
thanks, Cassio. We'll just yes, look, we're at time actually, so we'll move to Q&A, and obviously we'll share the information with everyone afterwards. I'm conscious that some people might have had to drop already, but some really great demos, and just reminder to everyone, to ask for help if you want to get started with any of these. A reminder, again, it'll be sent out afterwards, but that GEVMFG demo support at gevanova.com, that's how you request access to this demo system. And yeah, all partners, solution providers can get that, and you can share it within your organization. So a couple of themes with the questions that hopefully you guys can just help with. The first one was, how many people can use this demo environment simultaneously? If Lulu or Cassio. come off mute.
I'm sorry, I was talking on mute. Yeah, there is no limitation on this. It's just, I mean, yeah, depending on the kind of demo you are doing, you might need to make just have some attention regarding the actions you're doing. For example, if you're publishing from this SCADA project, for example, if you're publishing some of the changes into the project, you might see some message that and it's not that common to happen, but if someone else is doing the same at the same time as you are, you might have just a message warning about this, but it's not that, I mean, limiting what you can do. There is no limitation regarding the access here.
Sure. Okay. And then I think what's another one that was kind of a common theme. Just got time for one more question. What use cases do you see that are generating the strongest customer interest these days from the ones that we can demo?
Not sure if I got the question. Can you say that again? Or what use cases?
Which use cases do we find are generating the strongest interest from customers?
Let me think about that. At least from what I've presented here, they are really interested in having this kind of centralized management capabilities. And even more important, if they have remote sites, they want to have this web-based layer so that they can do whatever they want and whatever they need from one single place. But from the MES perspective, not sure, Lulu, maybe you can also dig into, for example, the new web client interface.
It's okay. I think this is good. The point anyway to everyone is that these demonstrations, there's many more that we've got created, and there's content and videos and ways to use it, but the team are available as well. So reach out to us, get your access, and then you can play around with this system basically, and it should help you be able to demonstrate things to your customers quicker. I just showed a few more things there about some training that's coming up in the US. There is also ones in the European region as well that we've done, and we'll have more coming up in Q3 and Q4. So we'll share those training ideas with you, ways you can connect with us. The next tech talks like this coming up as well. And finally, just a reminder that obviously one of our things is around training and certifications as well. So I didn't want to miss the opportunity just to plug the fact that we do have a summer challenge underway. So really encourage you to go to the learning management system, Edge, create an account if you don't have one. It's the e-learning is free. The certification exams are free as well. And it can really help bolster your profile online and be able to showcase that to your customers, that you understand our solutions. And with that, I think we'll have to wrap up now. A few technical difficulties today. Apologies for that. But again, it'll be on recording, and reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you again for your attention, the expertise, the energy that you all have with our solution. There's lots more coming up. We look forward to the future with Velotic. So with that, I'll say thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.